Hi people, Moin Wave back here again as always and as usual. Yeah, this is going to be a brief quick video I'm going to do on the astrological body Vulcan. I decided or I've made the decision as per today to also add Vulcan to my astrological charts. So from now on it's going to be included in the equation of all the celestial bodies, and I'm simply in this video briefly going to explain the who, the where, the what, the why, and the how. I also added it to my article. You can see it speaks for yourself. This is Vulcan's glyph, so its symbol. Its symbol is a red arrow pointing downwards, essentially similar to the square root, but in an arrow form. Vulcan deals with how handy someone is, so how well they manage things that requires them to utilize their hands in similar more potent for men than for women, and is needless to say generally strong in Virgo, Scorpio, etc., but is subject to interpretation. Yeah, that's all. I barely honestly wanted to record this video, but I simply said to myself, yeah, for the sake of data accumulation. So yeah, let's dive right in. Vulcan is more prominent in people's natal charts, so the constellations under which they were born rather than orary charts. I'm going to give examples on all of them. In any case, look at my own natal chart. People that follow me already are aware of this. They've already seen all of this. Vulcan is wedged between the Sun and Mercury. It's in Libra going retrograde. And I expected in the ninth house, and I suspected this. Now, keep in mind what I said. Vulcan deals, generally speaking, similar to the Roman pagan god of the same name that I also whose video I also published a day or two ago. Vulcan, in that same vein, deals with applicable to someone's personality or giving away a specific situation in a specific situation in the way of properties and virtues. Vulcan deals with, like I said, how handy someone is. So, how well someone can deal with matters of an ordinary everyday nature where you need to essentially use your hands. Think of anything you do around the house, doing the dishes. Think of if you're a mechanic, actually, you need to use your hands and get dirty in order to change this and change that. Think of any person that does hard manual labor, someone that mounts and dismounts air conditioners and the likes and whatnot, like that. Now, Vulcan, generally speaking, in this specific case, would be okay in Libra. Vulcan in Libra would stand for someone that's simply refined in terms of working with their hands, but you can see here in my natal chart, Vulcan is going retrograde, not to mention the fact that it's opposed the moon. Now, the opposition with the Earth is a given, considering the fact that it's conjunct the Sun. Now, the opposition with the Moon, it says the same thing that the Sun and Mercury are saying. Uh, It essentially says that I wasn't handy. Okay, my natural personality wise, I was not handy. And I distinctly remember that. Well, like Vulcan is very afflicted. And the ninth house essentially stands for specifically because it is Vulcan, because Vulcan lays emphasis on the physical rather than the immaterial. Um, the ninth house, since it deals with knowledge and whatnot. In this specific case, it deals with physical education, which I sucked at. Correct. And the fact that Vulcan is so afflicted stands for, especially the opposition with the moon, stands for why? All the issues I had when I was growing up, etc. and whatnot. Bluntly put, I was made out to be a sissy that could barely kick a ball or hit a ball. Like I was not good at sports whatsoever. I wasn't good at dealing with anything that required like physical contact and utilizing my hands, Again, think of the aforementioned examples, doing the dishes, doing things around the house, sweeping the floor with a broom and stuff like that. I sucked at all of it. I sucked at it. I suck big time. People always say like, "You're really not handy. You're really not handy." I remember that as a kid. Again, the reason is simply the opposition with the moon, the heavy opposition with the moon, full opposition, indicates that all the issues I had, etc., as a child that I brought up, are the reason for that, or was the reason. Contrary to now, obviously, it no longer is applicable and or valid now. But you see my point. Now, I'm gonna give another example. I'm a man, obviously. Now we're gonna look at a woman's natal chart, a woman whose chart I did, Marie Curie specifically. The Marie Curie you guys know, the woman that contributed to the invention or establishment of radiation or atomic energy or similar. In any case, Google who Marie Curie is if you don't know. Would be surprised if you didn't, honestly. In any case, see, immediately you can see here how strong Vulcan is. Vulcan is in Scorpio and it's in Virgo's house. And it is conjunct everything all the way to Mars. In that context, you can compare Vulcan a bit to Mars. Vulcan is like the Mercury applicable to Mars. It's like Mars's little Mercury, if you will. And yeah, see for yourself. Marie Curie was very handy. She was very good with her hands and all things you do with your hands, handling stuff, like literally and figuratively speaking, handling things. Yeah, so it speaks for itself. Marie Curie wasn't the type to, by accident, drop a glass on the floor, as in, oh, I'm such a klutz. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. In her case, good for her because she couldn't afford to do so. Otherwise, it would be like imminent death handling the things that she did, especially on the job. So no, she was very craftsman-like, very good with her hands, etc. Very flexible, very agile, you name it. Now we're going to check out orrery charts, so situation-based charts. This is an old chart from like 5 years ago, and the question spoke for itself by ATV. It was when I made the decision to buy my ATV after checking it out. Now, I'm represented by Mars in this chart, and despite the fact that Vulcan is unaspected, you can see that it contributes to already existing factors here. That's why it's conjunct Mercury, the Sun, or versa the other way around, as well as Uranus, and it's in Virgo's house. Now, Vulcan in Taurus, Vulcan is neutral generally speaking in Taurus. In this case here as well, but it's exalted based on the fact that it's in Virgo's house. Vulcan simply says what the rest is saying here as well, which is that it is a worthwhile investment in short, okay? And specifically, I'll be able to handle it well, which I did. I love my ATV. I still love driving ATVs and off-roading up to present day. And I could really handle myself. Like I'm one of the best ATV drivers in the world, even if I say so myself. I loved it that much. That's why you're seeing it be so exalted because it's among so many planets and yada yada yada. And last but not least, this is the trip I took recently where I enjoy Keukenhof. Keukenhof is a flower field, tulip-based flower field in the Netherlands, that I went to yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. Alongside everything else, Vulcan is in Pisces going retrograde. The retrograde does not apply. It says the same thing that the Sun and Saturn are saying. I'm represented by Mars and I am trine. So Mars is trine everything, Saturn, Vulcan, and the Sun. And it simply stood for the weather, honestly. It was bright and sunny, 17 degrees. That's why it's trine. Pisces stands for the cold. So all of this, in essence, including Vulcan, says that it's going to be cold by default, so the usual. But you'll be able to handle it. It's not going to be as cold as like when it is in winter or autumn or anything. No, it's going to be cold considering the fact that spring is almost here or already here. One of the two or both or anything else in between. And that's why, Ryan, if, for example, I was opposed and it was a true opposition or I was square, all of these guys, then yeah, no, it would have stood for the fact that I would have difficulty coping with the cold, even by my standards. Yeah, and that is all. So you've seen it for yourself. That's what Vulcan is all about. It doesn't add much to the equation, but still, every little bit helps. Later.